Prepare to be amazed as we delve into the incredible discovery made by a man in Egypt that has shocked the entire world. This discovery sheds new light on ancient history and changes everything we thought we knew about one of the most fascinating civilizations in the world. From hidden tombs to mysterious artifacts, this is a story that will leave you speechless. Get ready for an unforgettable journey through time as we unveil what a man discovered in Egypt that shocked the whole world. Really, you see unbelievable things happening in this video. Quickly give this video a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all our gripping stories. Now, let's begin. Gold Mummies. This is the Valley of the Gold Mummies, where multiple people are taking their eternal sleep, covered in gold, containing a rich culture filled with distinct traditions. Egyptians highly impacted their surroundings, just like the Romans, who, when invading Egypt, adopted the process of mummification, and that in gold. Obsessed with the idea of gold, the Egyptians used to believe that the gods were made up of gold, so when their kings died, they used to cover their bodies in gold-plated coffins and sometimes even covered their faces with gold so that they could become a divine being in the afterlife. Secret Egyptian Palace of Ramses II, discovered by accident. Even if people have been admiring the place and visiting it for decades, it turns out that there may still be secrets to be revealed. The Temple of Ramses II is one of the most famous landmarks of ancient Egypt and a tourism destination on the list of every visitor that goes there. But it had been keeping secrets this whole time. An excavation team from New York University were apparently out at the famous Temple of Ramses II in the ancient Egyptian city of 𝗲𝗲𝗵𝗲 when they accidentally found a secret palace, as one does, of course. World's first pregnant Egyptian mummy discovered. An Egyptian mummy that was transported from Egypt to Poland in the early 1800s has recently undergone some new testing by a team of Polish scientists, and what they discovered was believed to be the world's first pregnant mummy. There are tasteless jokes to be made, but it's too heartbreaking to think of them all. The mummy dates to the 1st century BC and was for many years anyways believed to be the body of male priest. However, modern scientific stuff pokes around where it's unicorn remains. While many of us believe that unicorns belong to the fictional world and don't belong to our world, a man's camera caught the unexpected unicorn skull half buried in the sand. And when it was brought to the researchers, they revealed something that might disappoint you. As these ancient unicorns are nothing like we expected them to be and are more recent than the humans had assumed, because the unicorns did not resemble the horses, but were something quite like rhinos with a single horn over its head that roamed the earth about 29,000 years ago. Exposed grave. Not a mummy, but a man's camera caught a bizarre scene from a cemetery. He spotted a half-open grave in the middle of the cemetery. And taking a closer look, the man's camera recorded the skeleton of a human, probably 1.8 meters tall, lying inside. Not knowing how the grave opened, the guy went a little inside and he was shocked to see some more skulls placed on the grave's corner. And that was not it, as human legs and some other body parts were also present inside it, which didn't belong to the single person. So, what was going on here? Let me know what you think. Sleeping girl. Looking like a sleeping child, the girl shocked the archaeologists when it was caught because it felt like the girl would open its eyes at any moment. But actually, she had been dead for about 1,200 years and was perfectly preserved, which muddled the researcher too. But her history is even more baffling. The girl was a teenager when she was sacrificed as a common religious practice of that time. Found in her hair were the signs of consuming alcohol and cocoa, which were given to her to persuade her for the sacrifice. Which means that she was drugged before the ritual took place. 2,500-year-old mummy in perfect condition, revealed after discovery of 59 sarcophagi. Just when you think you've seen all the mummies that could possibly be discovered, they only go and crack open a new one. Along with 58 of her friends, no less. Yes, in October of 2020, Archaeologists in Egypt began opening up the ancient sarcophagi that had been discovered earlier that year at an excavation site just to the south of Cairo. And despite all the curses and all that stuff that could befall a person if they poke a mummy, people just keep on opening these things up all willy-silly. In fact, not only are people willing to open the coffins up, but there are also plenty of people lining up to be there when they do. And that's what happened when these chaps proud opened the old lid of the ancient death box that had remained sealed for 2,500 years. Does the phrase "rest in peace" not mean anything to these people? The first sarcophagus contained the mummified remains of a priest, which had apparently been sporting a rather fetching ensemble of an ornate burial cloth, along with a picture of the dead chap's face on it. How delightful. The mummy mothers were apparently thrilled to bits with the contents of these coffins and couldn't believe their good fortune. Let's just hope that lasts for them and no unfortunate accidents should befall them. Mummified queen, with her veins still red, skin still tough, the lady known as the Queen of Mummification is said to be the wealthiest woman of her time. Sleeping along with the valuables that were placed inside her tomb, she showed signs of wealth and prosperity. And the researchers assume that this might be the reason behind the exemplary preservation of the lady. Because even after being dead for hundreds of years, her joints were still flexible, even though her eyelash and nose hair were still intact, and it looked like a corpse of a recently deceased person rather than someone who had died centuries ago. So the monster, while exploring the ancient caves, a group of explorers decided to go a little further inside it in search of some old treasures that might be hidden there. When not being able to locate anything, the group decided to head back towards their car. But it turned out someone really did want them to go back. As when heading back, one of the boys heard something coming from an ancient drainage system a little distant from the caves. And there it was, a strange creature cryptid that, even though locked in the bars, was trying all its efforts to come out and catch the group. Okay. Unluckily, the group made it out unharmed. Mummified babies found in Tutankhamun's tomb. The practice of burying dead pharaohs along with their pets and sometimes even their servants were relatively common. The general idea of the tomb was that it should contain everything that the pharaoh would need in the next life. This meant absolutely everything, and for a time that also included the servants of the dead pharaoh, even if they were inconveniently not yet quite dead. This insane practice was eventually replaced with models of their servants. No doubt the idea was enthusiastically endorsed by the servants everywhere. What they did was they lifted the lids up and then they put in pieces of cloth. And so it should come as no huge surprise that the tomb of Tutankhamun contained mummies other than just the pharaoh himself. However, the fact that the mummies were tiny babies is a little bit more startling. When the tomb was uncovered in 1922, the pharaoh's 2 infant daughters would be discovered inside. It doesn't appear to have been as sinister as it may sound. Though the children had died prior to their father's death, this super sad story is compounded by the fact that these babies have no known names. They're simply referred to as 317 and 317b. Library of Alexandria. Archaeologists claim discovery of the Library of Alexandria, what was believed to have been the greatest library of the ancient world. The Library of Alexandria is a lost location with a mythical status. It was part of the Research Institute at Alexandria in Egypt and was one of the first examples of a library which was for the development of learning and sharing knowledge and ideas on a global scale. It would be built by Alexander the Great in 334 BC, and the library acquired some of the greatest works of the ancient civilizations. What eventually happened to the huge and valuable collection at the library? All the roads once you entered the walls of the ancient city remains one of the most controversial and mystery-shrouded things in history. There are accounts that the library existed until the Arab conquest of Alexandria in the 7th century, but others disagree. Some accounts have the library burning down by accident, whereas others have seen it destroyed in a deliberate act to wipe out all the remains of the old beliefs when Christianity was to become the only religion permitted in the Roman Empire. So, it's no wonder that people can't even agree on where the place might have been located. But back in 2004, a team of Polish and Egyptian archaeologists claimed to have discovered the site of the original library of Alexandria. And then a whole new fuss and bother about the whereabouts and validity of claims would kick off again. These scholars of ancient stuff certainly enjoy a nice, fresh controversy to mix things up a bit, probably on account of all their artifacts being well past their sell-by date. These scientists seem to have offered up very flaky evidence for their claims. And the furious arguments rumble on. Pregnant Egyptian mummy. An Egyptian mummy that was transported from Egypt to Poland in the early 1800s has recently undergone some new testing by a team of Polish scientists, and what they discovered was believed to be the world's first pregnant mummy. There are tasteless jokes to be made, but it's too heartbreaking to think of them all. The mummy dates to the 1st century BC and was for many years anyways believed to be the body of male priest. However, modern scientific stuff pokes around where it's Dino people. If you used to believe that humans came following the dinosaurs' extinction, then get ready to be proven wrong. As buried underneath a tomb, scientists discovered something strange, yet fascinating. They unearthed hundreds of figurines containing the figure of humans and dinosaurs. And both, along with each other, and even some of them, showed people riding the dinosaurs, which potentially proves that there might have been some time in the ancient eras where both of these creatures used to live together, but probably for a very short period of time that no signs other than these thousands-of-year-old figurines were found. Coffins of Sakkara. Found inside the tomb of Sakkara are buried the rarest and the most fascinating coffins. An archaeologist was shocked when he accidentally found a chamber of huge figurines that were buried there about 2,000 years ago. And when they went inside, the archaeologist was surprised to see hundreds of them placed inside the chamber, and not alone. Deserted whales, fish, and deserts are two parallel things. Researchers in Egypt found whale carcasses right in the desert lands. And not just one or two. The desert was filled with bones, skulls, and huge carcasses of whales. In fact, these bones were so abundant to the land that it was given the name of Whale Valley. While folks were baffled, how could it be possible, according to investigators? Maybe that in ancient ages it was a result of a mass beaching in which the whales and dolphins willingly strand themselves on land and died. And when the ocean moved further away, they may have been buried in the sand. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing for more crazy clips. Are you curious about more shocking discoveries? Then click on one of the following videos.